Good morning. I'm going to show you how you can go about purchasing 3 properties in the space of 12 months. Okay. I'm going to use an example here which might be very similar for a lot of people in the group. So let's work off someone who's on a $75,000 income. They've got a borrowing capacity of $600,000. Okay. I'm going to be using paint, so please excuse my horrible illustrations, but work with me here. Cool. So let's go off it. So first things first, you've been told by a broker or a bank, yep, you can borrow up to $600,000. Okay. Let's say you've got $100,000 in savings. All right. Last thing you want to do is just go out and purchase, a $700,000 property, because that means that you only are going to be able to purchase that one property. And then there's a bit that needs to happen in order for you to get into your second purchase, maybe 2, 3, 4 years. Okay. Let's work off just getting to the goal of purchasing the 3 great properties in the space of 12 months. Okay. So first things first, excuse my horrible drawing. All right. First things first is you want to almost split that borrowing capacity in half. So let's work off a first purchase of $300,000. Okay. Now, this is with you coming up with the deposit yourself. So let's say you're coming up with a $30,000 deposit plus all expenses. Let's say $45,000 for the first purchase. All right, $45,000. All right. Remember, you've got $100,000 in savings. Now, you want to make sure that this property that you are purchasing in, it's going to be positive cash flow. So it's going to be putting at the very least $5,000 in your pocket. Something more towards that $10,000 mark is what you are going to want to be targeting. So something it's going to be generating, say, 5, 8, 10K in your pocket year on year. Is awesome, but then also you've obviously got to be targeting a property which is in a high growth area, and it's going to get growth almost straight away, within that first year. And I'll explain to you why that's important. So that's property number 1. All right. You then go back to the bank from there and say, okay, I've done that. I want to now purchase a second property. Now, from the bank's perspective, they look at that and they go, okay, well, he or she is nowhere near he or she's maximum borrowing capacity. Okay. And the property is actually generating this person, $9,000, or let's use a round number, $10,000 in passive income. Okay. So from their perspective, from bank's perspective, they then look at your situation and go, okay, well, nowhere near the borrowing cap. The property is generating $10,000. So rather than being assessed on $75,000 as an income, you're now assessed on $85,000. So your actual borrowing capacity has not been affected at all. Okay, so that means I can go out and purchase a second property. Now let's say second property here is again going to be at $300,000, just for simplicity, right? $300,000. Now 10% deposit, which is $30,000 plus all expenses. Let's say another $45,000. Okay, and that's your second property. Now, again, property is generating, let's say, again, $10,000 in passive income. Bank will then look at your situation and go, okay, let's not assess him or her on $85,000. Let's assess this person on $95,000. We're going to add that $10,000 to their borrowing capacity, to their income, right? Essentially meaning that they're going to allow you to purchase, again, the same amount, if not more. And from that point of view, this is where it gets exciting, because, as I said, $45,000, that's $90,000. You only had $100,000 in savings. All right. Let's say that you didn't save for the first 6 months over, purchasing these first 2 properties. You didn't save another cent. This is why I said it's super important that, yes, it needs to have cash flow. More importantly, it needs to be in a high growth area. So let's now use the example that the first property that you purchased has now grown by 20%, 25%. in the first 6 months, which is madness to think, but there is definitely areas. And let's even go with the thought that you purchased the property under market value. So it was actually valued at 330K, but because you knew the agent, because you were great at negotiating, you purchased the property at 300K, okay? Instant equity there, plus it's now grown, say, another 20, 30,000. So the property's now worth 360. It's got a loan of, say, 250, and there's equity there. Meaning for the third purchase, you're extracting equity from your first, and you're using your third purchase with none of your own money. Again, same situation. Let's go for 300K, $45,000 with all expenses, which has been extracted from the first property. So it's not your own money. And that's how you go about purchasing 3 properties, rinse and repeat. Beauty is, when it comes to your fourth purchase, you'll extract money from your second. And when it comes from your fifth purchase, you'll extract money from your third. And that is how leverage works. I call it the 8th wonder of the world. And that is how you get ahead and do what only 0.4% of Australian investors can do, which is hold more than 3 investment properties. Hope that makes sense. I'll try next time to do a bit better illustrations, but hope that makes sense. Take care.